Hey folks, it's Charlie here from Charlie in the Rain. And little lore drop, when I was, how old was I? 11 or 12 years old. I used to listen to the radio in the middle of the night when they used to play Australian music. That's where I found my first love for Australian music with some little tracks called Lady Powers and Regular Touch by an artist called Vera Blue. I went to the library. I picked up those CDs. I picked up the CD for Perennial by Vera Blue. That cover, the black backdrop, Vera Blue in the middle with the bright red hair. I fell in love. And that's kind of brought me to where I am now, yapping about Aussie music all the time. I'm so excited that today I am yapping with Vera Blue herself. We have a new album that by the time you're listening, it's out everywhere now, and I'm obsessed. But we're going to dive into all of that right now. Vera Blue, how are you doing today?
Hello. I'm so excited to be chatting to you. I'm good. I'm very good. I am kind of like just in a fever dream, with this album and the tour and everything. It's been
Mm.
so incredible. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to be chatting to you. So thank you for having me.
Yes, no, thank you so much for making the time to chat because you're one of those artists, regardless of the fact that I'm an insanely like massive fan of yours and your music has kind of soundtracked 50% of my life to date. You're
Oh.
one of those artists that when someone listens to Vera Blue, they can't just listen and be like, oh, okay, like that's a lovely song. It's like I need to know more. I have so many questions. I want to dive into this world. So
I
I'm
love that.
honored to have the chance to pick your brain that all things modern rituals. The album is
Yes.
out everywhere now. This is such a gorgeous collection of tracks. It's kind of a story. You've said it's your most personal and most revealing album yet, which
Mm.
is an insane thing to say when you look at your discography and you look at what you've released so far. It's just a crazy thought that you're just getting leveling up more and more, getting more and more personal and revealing.
Mm.
But Modern
Yeah.
Rituals, it's a new chapter of Vera Blue. You've said that
Yeah.
you're kind of bridging the gap between the performer and the artist Vera Blue and yourself as a person. Can
Yeah.
you kind of take us through a bit of that and introduce us to the world of Modern Rituals?
Oh, I love that. Well, it has been really interesting. And when I say like, most personal work to date, it's funny because I do think about all of the music that I put out and all of it is so personal, but maybe for me right now, it's like it's the
Mm.
most kind of raw, honest, and emotional, body of work. And that has really been through, you know, becoming and realizing that Celia Pavey and Vera Blue are the same thing. I think about when I first kind of created the project and this persona that I kind of hyperfixated on that concept. But when I look back on it, I'm like, as a person, as an artist, especially as an artist, I think about myself on stage, I think about myself in the studio, I think about like everything that I would be doing as Vera Blue. I'm really just myself. And all of the stories that I tell in these songs are just Celia Pavey's story. So it's kind of been that thing, this realization that, you know, I have so many versions of self, and Vera Blue is a version of self. And maybe through Vera Blue, there are parts of me that feel, braver to be, raw and honest, or performing in a certain way on stage. But then I think about it, I'm like, in all these different versions of myself, I'm just me. And it's been really, really cool. But this album really is, I'm very proud of it. And, modern is the awareness, it's the now, and rituals are the emotional patterns that we return to exist and to cope and survive. It's incredibly human. I think about all of the songs. I think about how each of them, has its own modern ritual, which, I've got the ritual of awareness, the ritual of intrusion, the ritual of destruction, all of these things that are emotional behaviors pretty much. And it took me a while to kind of figure it out. Like when I first started making this album, I was like, I feel like these are just a collection of songs. I was just kind of,
Mm.
foraging my way through creativity and figuring it out. But then, I looked at everything from a bird's eye view and I was like, oh, I can't bloody help myself but create a concept, of course. I'm
Mm.
like, there's no concept here. And then I'm like, the concept is, it just appeared. And I was like, well, these are just the most, incredibly human things that we can do, as well as rituals being like having your coffee, cuddling your dog, which I do 24/7, hanging out with friends, connection and
Mm.
stuff. So yeah, I love it so much. And the sounds on it just, take me to another realm that just, it feels like very exciting, very exciting.
It takes us all to another realm. I put my big headphones on, volume up probably more than what's medically recommended all the way. And I just sit and I'm just like fully in these songs. The singles you've released prior to the full Modern Rituals album are insane. I'll put on my headphones and I'll be twirling around in circles to Go Lucky. And then it's just like Maze, which was your most recent single. Oh my God, I just sit there, I kind of just like rock a little bit. You fully get
Yeah,
transported into these worlds.
it's pretty whiplashy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but we love it. We
Yeah.
love it. When you accidentally like shuffle play your discography and then you go from like something like Temper or Feel Better and it's like heck yeah, and then you're at like the start of Perennial and it's like what just happened?
Private, it's just like, whoa, that's what I
Yeah.
love about it so much. I love the kind of whiplashiness of emotions because in an entire day, I can feel such an array of emotions in one go. And that was the funnest part about this album is, what is the flow of the songs? I went from Rituals, which is, so cinematic and soulful, and then it going straight into Brittle Wings, which is just like a big slap in the face. But that's emotion. Sometimes emotions can just rock you, and you can just be like really taken aback by it. But yeah, I love that it's had that impact on you too. Hopefully, I haven't blown your eardrums because there's lots of bass and lots of hi hats, and the electronica is, it's got the late '90s, early 2000s feel as well as kind of like the folky ethereal stuff that I really wanted I wanted to bring my roots back into this album as well.
Vera Blue, I give you full permission to blow my eardrums. I give you full permission to fully take me into the music. If the last thing I ever hear with like complete hearing is one of your songs, I'd be honored.
Oh my God, that would be so bad. I'd be like, no, now you can't hear my new stuff. What?
That's a good point. Look after your hearing, bro.
Love that.
But yeah, you mentioned something with the construction of the phrase and the idea of modern rituals itself. There's the real intrinsic human element to it, the
Mm,
rituals of being human, of your life, of like the way society works to get full like
mm,
existential lens of it,
yeah.
which I think is such a significant thing, especially now in 2026, to be ruminating on the humanness of art because
Mm,
it's a scary time out there for
yes.
creatives at all phases of their career with the human lens of it.
Mm.
But to not get into the full detrimental end of the world side of it, you mentioned, yeah, it's a very personal thing. All of these tracks are journeys of different rituals and different experiences and
Mm,
journeys of self-realization as such.
yeah.
I'd love to ask, as a musician, what comes first for you? Did you sit down and do the soul searching, or did it all just kind of come out in these songs? Is the music the
Yeah.
way you're processing everything?
100% exactly how you said
Mm,
it. Music is like it's the evolution and it's also, what you've been going through. And it just, when I'm in the studio or when I'm like creating by myself, when I'm with collaborating with other people, I love collaborating. It's
mm,
something that just is drawn out through music, I think, through hearing a synth, through hearing a chord progression, a beat. Like I found throughout working on this album, I was very kind of what's the word, like drawn to and inspired by what I was hearing.
mm,
And then it would draw out a certain emotion. Like, for example, in Brittle Wings, you can hear that really intense, kind of grungy um, sub bass at the
mm,
start, very gritty, very kind of like angsty. And that for me really made me think about these two versions of myself, one being like, I give up, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, and then this other version of me being like, no, you can do this, this that kind of like almost like the visual of a friend picking up another friend being like, you can make it through this. I do find I'm quite like reliant, I think, dependent on the kind of emotion that is drawn out through the musicality, through when I'm working with a producer, what the kind of chord progression tells me emotionally, which I really, really love. It's been really cool.
yeah, absolutely. And like, Another thing with this album that I feel like a lot of people nowadays, the album's out where we're either playing it through a physical variant and fully immersing ourselves in it, or it's in our streaming services. We're receiving it all in this nice package, all the songs together. Some of these songs have lived with you for a while. These aren't just
Yes.
all brand new diary entries. How does it get to this point where you were putting all the puzzle pieces together and making this cohesive journey? Were
Mm.
there a few things that you were maybe unsure we're going to make the final project? Was there a few thoughts that you're like, oh no, that was a past memory, or is it all part of this ritualistic journey you've pieced together?
I guess as soon as I started, like all of the songs are, even the ones that didn't make this particular
Mm.
album are part of the journey, and maybe there is room for them eventually. But when it was really hard when I was kind of picking the songs, and I did have this realization where I was like, well, I could put out a song with 20 songs, I could put out a song with an album, could put out an
Mm.
album with 20 songs, could put out an album with 10 songs, and I for some reason just was like, eight feels really, it just feels very like, there's a center to it. And then like eight just feels like an even number for me. I love even numbers. And
Mm.
for those 8 songs, I could really see a strong collection of those rituals. And there was such a soundscape that was really, really, that had really grown. So yeah, I picked most of the songs, pretty late actually. And then I realized that with rituals, particularly, I was like, I
Mm.
feel like there needs to be a song that sums up the whole album. And that's where rituals was born. It was one of those moments where I was like, I'm going to just sit down and see how we go and try and write something. And it just was like, it sounds very wanky, but it just flowed out. And I was like, oh my
Mm.
God, what is happening right now? It was really cool. I love that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned a lot about the journey in each of these songs being a separate component. One thing you've done that I can't wait to see in person. I can't wait to see the reaction when everyone gets their physical copies. You've made like tarot cards aligning with each of the songs. I think this is one of the coolest things. I can't wait to see which one everyone ends up with. I
Yes.
think these are such a cool thing, which kind of comes into the listening experience for us as listeners of modern rituals. On that note, I'd love to ask, what would you recommend is the first full listen experience from the start to the end? What are we doing? Where are we? What's the
Mm.
vibe?
Oh, I love this. I think like if you are listening or streaming it, going out into the elements, going on like a cliff edge, going into like somewhere where it's a little bit gothic, dark and eerie, that's also really cool for those moments. Or even just in the sunshine, going for a walk in the sunshine. But I also love the idea of like maybe people lighting some candles and sitting and just kind of like not doing anything but
Mm.
listening to the music and feeling the music, which I think would be a really special experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we're in such a world of passive consumption where people
Mm.
just they have music on in the background and they don't really let themselves feel what the music's trying to make them feel and all these things.
Mm.
So actually like listening to something with intention is
Mm.
such like it's weird to say it, but it's almost an act of resistance nowadays. But I
It really is.
yeah, I
I
can't wait
love
to
that.
light my candles and have a full modern rituals
Oh,
experience.
I love that. And then once you've heard it like enough times, then you can put it on, you can do your cleaning to it, and you
Yeah.
can like get to go lucky and be like, I'm free doing the vacuuming. But yeah, I think it's like I definitely like find that thing where I'm like, I don't want to force people how to listen to it, but it is really important, I think, for people to remember that there's so much put into creating an album and stuff like that, and so much love and passion. So it's really special to be able to know that people will listen to it in that way as well and connect with it.
Mm. Absolutely. And speaking of connection with music, I am so very excited for this thing that I'm just about to mention. You are taking Modern Rituals on tour. This is your first national tour since about 2022, which is crazy to think about.
Crazy.
This is going to be my first time seeing a Vera Blue live show, and you don't understand. I'm going to be bawling my eyes out. I can
Oh,
guarantee that I just know it's going to be such a magical experience. But
oh, so excited.
oh, how are you feeling to finally get around and do a full national tour for the first time in about 4 years?
It's been like it's daunting, and it's like scary, but it's also like it's where I find most joy. I love the performance element of being an artist is just where I feel most at home.
Mm.
And this show I'm so excited about. I'm so excited for you to see a show like this for the first time because I've, you know, created all of these.
Mm.
I've created kind of three identities for the show and three acts where I'm in these three different worlds. There's I won't give too much away, but there's kind of like, the theatrical version, then there's the, kind of more raw, ethereal version, and then there's the dance party, colorful queen one. But it's been so fun. The energy's gonna be, really beautiful. And I just want people to kind of have a really nice time and dance and have fun and feel safe in the room to feel safe in the room to cry, to scream, all of those things. But I'm very excited.
I will be crying and probably screaming. You definitely know your target audience. We're speaking of tour, and it's the Modern Rituals tour. So I'd love to ask if you have any maybe tour rituals or traditions that you want to jump back into that you've done on previous tours, or maybe some new or modern ones that you want to
Mm.
start up with this tour.
I think definitely, I mean, one of my favorite things is just hanging out with my band and crew. Like they're like my family. And it is something that I look forward to. We go have dinner and we go have, coffee, really good coffee. We explore the towns and cities that we're going to and just hang out and have fun. So that's definitely a ritual of ours, just kind of just having a really good time together. It kind of takes the edge off the pressure of
Mm.
touring. But my band and I always do like a handshake before we go on stage. And we've been saying the same one for years. We say benditos, but like I think it might be time to like change it up. But I don't know. There's something about we went to like a really awesome restaurant in Adelaide. I think it was like a sandwich place. And then for some reason, we just started going benditos. We just love it so much. So maybe we need to create a new ritual of what that handshake is before we go on stage. But a lot of the kind of like things that I love doing and that I'll always do is having my tea before going on stage, trying to stay zen, doing my makeup and hair, calling my husband at home, being like, how's our little dog going? Chatting to him. Texas is like my life.
Mm.
But yeah, I think there'll be some new little ones that'll pop up on this one. But I'm a creature of habit. I like to just have
Mhm.
my things that I do and just kind of hyperfixate.
Honestly, so fair. And we're speaking of hyperfixations, we're speaking of creature of habit, keep returning to the same thing. I do want to take a moment to talk about Perennial and talk about the album that truly made me who I am today in the least like crazy way to say that, if there is a way. Um, this album just recently had its ninth birthday, and
Crazy.
next year is a whole decade since Perennial came out. That is so
Wow.
crazy to me to think about. That must be even more crazy for you to think about. Earlier this
So
year,
wild.
earlier this year was the 10-year anniversary of Settle. Like, this is so crazy. I'd love to ask, as an artist, how does it feel to kind of sit back and take a retrospective lens at some of this work you've put out throughout your career and maybe hear about some of the impacts it's had on people or the legacy that it's kind of laid out for you?
Oh, it's been so crazy. And I think back on, yeah, Perennial, Mercurial, and Fingertips EP and how proud I am of all of those songs and what those albums represented and how it has reached people. Like people have told me stories about Perennial in particular, where they have just gone through heartbreak and
Mm.
they've kind of felt it a little bit difficult to move through the whole album until they've reached that point of the album where they feel like they're ready to move on. So by the time they get to Mended, they're like, I've made it. I've made it through this album. I've made it through that, the series of, it's kind of like what you go through when you have heartbreak. To come out the other side and be like, oh wow, can't believe this feeling. But yeah, the impact of all of that music and how much it means, and yeah, very proud of it. And crazy that Perennial's like 10 years old next year. Like, what? What do you mean? What happened in the last 10 years?
No, honestly, to me that it's such a crazy thing to be like, oh, like it's been nine full years that the album's been out, and I've been like,
Mm.
yeah, like I was 12 years old when it came out. Like that does make
Oh
sense
my
to me.
God. So cute. You're so small.
Uh, such a formative album for me. It
Oh, it's
Genuinely
beautiful.
so, so like indebted to you and that album. But we're speaking of music we're loving. I'd love to ask one last question. Can you maybe give us a glimpse into the Vera Blue playlist and let us know if
Mm.
there's any Aussie artists or Aussie tracks that you have been loving lately?
I mean, there's just so many. I mean, I always go back to Kylie Minogue. She's definitely been like a big inspo
Mm.
for moments on this album, like Can't Get You Out of My Head, Love
Mhm.
at First Sight, those kind of, euphoric or like sassy moments. Oh, who else is there? Oh, I'm trying to think. There are so many. There's some such incredible Australian artists. Like, I mean, I love Troye Sivan, like absolutely love. So I'm like inspired by so many different kind of flavors of Australian music, you know. Too many to list. I just hyperfixate on certain things. Definitely Kylie Minogue is one that I really, I'm always returning to.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I'm honestly, thank you so much for making the time to chat today. I feel like I've learned so much more about this album, and
Oh,
I can't wait to fully dive into it now that it's out everywhere. So if you're listening, go give a listen to Modern Rituals. Vera Blue, thank you so much for making the time to chat all about it.
oh, thank you so much, Charlie. We've been meaning to do this for so long, and I'm so, so glad we did. I'm very, very excited. Yeah, thank you so much.